Welcome to episode 3 of the Modern Day Heroes podcast. I am stoked about today's guest. I got my dear friend Colin Cole with us.
What's up, dude?
This is going to be a blast, bro. Colin has been a friend of mine for the last 4 years, a mentor, brother, and just an example in a lot of aspects of life. So I'm excited to learn from you, and I'm excited to everyone to learn from you. Tell the crowd how we met, dude.
We met at the gym. I don't remember how we. I don't know.
4:15. We're like the only dudes in the gym.
Yeah, that's right.
That are at Provo Boss at 4:15 a.m. And we would work out we'd work out in the same gym next to each other for like months, and then we'd always say what's up.
Yep.
And then one day you hit me up on LinkedIn. You're like, "Yo, let's hit the gym." I'm like, "Sick,
no way.
Let's do it, dude."
Okay.
So for the next, 2 years, dude? We worked out, and you got me all jacked up, and then I got married, and then I got fat again.
Yes.
So fortunately, you've kept with it, dude, and I haven't. But you've been a great example as far as the gym goes, dude.
Those were good days.
Those were the good days.
So I was married and you were single, and so you show up on 2 hours of sleep at 4 a.m., just freezing cold outside. So those are good times.
I bailed more than I would like to admit, unfortunately, because of lack of sleep. But those were the days, dude.
Yeah, those were the days.
Give us a taste of who Colin Cole is in the present, and then I'll ask a little bit about your story and your path.
Yeah. First and foremost, I'm a husband. Been married 5 years.
Best wife in the world, by the way.
She's amazing, Laura, and we're expecting our first. So super excited about that. Due date's end of May.
So fun, dude.
We're going old school and not finding out the gender.
That's right. That's right.
So
I can't believe you're doing that.
Yeah.
That's amazing, dude.
Yep.
So dad first and foremost, soon to be father here in a couple months.
Yeah.
What else?
I like business, I guess you could say. So do a little bit in business. I currently am at Gabb, one of the first people there and kind of on the founding team.
Yeah.
So
give us a taste of what Gabb is a little bit.
Yeah. So Gabb provides safe tech solutions for kids. So you look around, every single person's affected by tech.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for kids and teens, it's negatively. So we decided to, instead of just decide to educate the market, we wanted to actually provide solutions. So we have a range of hardware products and software products. We have a safe watch for kids as early as like 6, 7, 8.
Beautiful.
And then we have safe phones for kids, and they don't have stuff that, a 12-year-old doesn't need, like TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat.
And what would you say, because there's so many problems that you're solving with that, dude, we go all day about this. This fires me up.
Yeah.
If you pin it down to 3, what is Gabb solving for the kids in this generation?
I would say it allows kids to be kids. So some of the alarming rates is tweens spend like 6.5 hours a day on their cell phone. They average that. Yeah. Teenagers, it's even worse. It's like 8 hours a day. So you do simple math, and it's like, okay, you got 8 hours of sleeping, 8 hours of school,
and 8 hours of phone.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then it's like 1 to 2 hours of eating, getting ready, showering. It's like you're already past 24 hours.
Wow.
So kids these days, they don't have hobbies. It's like record lows in sports participation.
Interesting.
Musical instruments, hobbies, all record lows. And then on the other side of that, anxiety, depression, everything are at all-time highs. So I think it's a lot of people try and argue with me on this one, which is kind of interesting. And they feel like causation is not correlation.
Really?
But to me, it's just so obvious.
For sure.
And, if somebody's super overweight and you're trying to break it down, it's like, how would you try and find out what's resulting in them being overweight?
Yeah. What are they eating? Are they working out, doing physical activity?
So it's like, you can't expect someone, if they ate donuts and ice cream all day, to be super fit, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, that's how I like to just break down the day and be like, all right, if you don't think that anxiety, depression, suicide are correlated with cell phone use, or not just cell phones, but it's mostly social media and everything like that. Let's see what they're doing in the day. And then it's like 8 to 10 hours a day. It's like, well, there's your answer.
Right. What an incredible problem you're solving. Obviously in this generation, there's two things. There's a lot of extortion going on, sexual predators online, and then pornography's, I mean, obviously at the highest that it's ever been due to access to technology and the internet consistently in our pocket. How has working at Gabb, being one of the first members on that team, seeing the whole cycle, how has your opinion on pornography, let's say, changed? Or what is your take as far as if you have a kid, what are you going to be doing different?
I would try, you got to have a lot of open conversations first and foremost. And secondly, I would try and keep them on a wearable as long as possible. This one's tough.
Interesting.
Because no matter what, they're going to come across it, you know, and if they look for it, they're going to find it. So I don't have kids yet, and so my opinion may change when I do have kids, but I would almost rather them fail in my house than outside of the house. It's hard to, I'd rather have all the learnings and lessons and everything happen inside the house.
Interesting.
So tons of open communication, letting the kid know when they do come across it, or I mean, they definitely will, you know.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. How they're supposed to respond and to ask for help and things like that, and just make it less taboo. But we have kids all the time come to us and open up and just say, I got addicted as early as age 7 or as age 8.
No way.
Like when I was 7 or 8, I wasn't worried about curbing my pornography addiction. I was worried about my kickball game the next day.
Yeah. Oh, that breaks my heart.
Like some of the things that these kids are dealing with and had way too much early access to because their parents didn't monitor it or anything. It's super heavy, and it's not the kid's fault.
Yeah. Oh, that breaks my heart. Yes. And so at what age are you going to create awareness around, hey, this is what pornography is? This is your response. Like, when are you opening up that dialogue?
I don't know, early.
6?
Yeah, probably. Wow. 5, 6.
Wow. 6?
Whenever it makes sense. Every kid's probably different. That's another thing we've learned at Gabb is, like, originally we had age ranges for all of our products. Then we realized every kid, the maturity process, the growth of that kid, for everybody it's super different. So we stopped putting ages around everything, and it's just like when the kid's ready.
And then from a sexual predator standpoint, extortion, give us some awareness on that. I think we were talking at the Jazz game the other day, and I was surprised at how prevalent of an issue this is. Give us some statistics, some awareness around what's going on in that world.
Yeah. No specific statistics come to mind, but once again, we just hear the saddest stories. So, like, being able to provide solutions and everything and ends up making it great.
Yeah.
But we've had to develop software products because of how big these issues are. So we have one of our software products, Gabb Messenger. No matter what, it doesn't send or receive any nude images.
Beautiful.
So, like,
that's awesome.
That's part of it. And no message. A Gabb phone only has Gabb Messenger. So that's important to us. But we built that product because of how many times we've heard parents tell the same story of my son, my daughter met this person online, and they started flirting and talking to each other, and eventually pictures were sent, and then ultimately it ended up being some man in Africa or some man anywhere in the world. And then now they're saying, I'm going to leak your photos unless you send me $5,000. I can count 50 times maybe that we've heard that story at Gabb. And it's usually, friends of coworkers who have reached out and said, can you guys help with anything like this? So it's just super sad. And I think it's happening a lot more than people realize. And kids are just so vulnerable and their minds are developing. So to give them such capable devices at a young age can be super scary.
It's incredible to get awareness on this because I think it's things we don't talk about. And this isn't an ad for Gabb, but holy smokes, bro. If you're a parent and you have kids from 4 to 16 and they're not using Gabb, it's your responsibility, dude. And I feel passionate that you got to give them the right tools to success. And so limitations are great.
Yeah.
Like, I know as a kid, none of us want freedom and like none of us want to feel like suppressed or we have rules, and like parents want to buy into that nowadays. But dude, kids need boundaries and they need rules and they need like to stay within certain parameters, dude, or else they're going to go, naturally, bro, we're all going to go do whatever we want.
Yeah.
The natural man wants.
Yeah. It's good too for kids to be bored. Nowadays there's no stopping cues when it comes to like social media. So like before you'd watch a TV show, and it's like 5 minutes of credits, or like you finish a newspaper and it's like, that's it. Instagram, TikTok, there's no stopping cues. Yeah. And it's you against the most well-paid engineers in the world. And their sole job is to get you addicted because they make more ad revenue and all that kind of stuff. So it's not good for adults even.
Right, for sure.
And
I'm
so
a
like
victim.
for kids whose minds are developing and everything, it's scary.
I appreciate you giving us clarity on that, man.
Yeah.
It's great information. Transitioning a little bit. So there's Gabb the product. You've been able to work there last 4 years?
5.
5? Okay. Yeah. And so you've seen it go from nothing to something incredible. Like it's a well-known name now.
Yeah.
What have been some business takeaways, some learnings that you've seen over the last 5 years going from 0 to where it's at today?
Yeah, good question. Do you want me to take in a little bit of like the genesis
Please,
of Gabb?
yeah, give us some context.
So I'd started a company my freshman year of college, and we actually taught, it was like more personal development and leadership to kids in China.
Yeah.
So I would go to China almost every like 3 weeks or so during school, which was
cool.
Super tough.
Yeah.
And just really long flights.
Yeah.
And we ended up creating some cool tech behind it, and everything was awesome. Back then, 2018, 2019 was like the Trump issues with their president, President Xi. We ultimately ended up having to sell the company, which we didn't want to do. So like all of a sudden that was like my 10-year plan, and I didn't know what to do. I was still a sophomore in college, so like had a little bit, to figure it out.
Sure.
But when I kept going to China, we stayed with this family often, and the kid had like a watch phone, and it hadn't been invented in the US. And it was so futuristic. Like it could call, text. The kid had music on it. One time I saw him call his mom and say, I need $5. And she like was able to send money to the watch. And then like he just paid with the watch. So it was brilliant.
Whoa.
And so I was like, this is so smart. Why would you give, a 6-year-old a cell phone when you could just get them like a watch phone? They can't lose it. It's such a small screen, so they can't really get in trouble. So I was like, maybe I could do that in the US. So I did like a full 2-day research on it. It's a tough business to get into.
Sure.
Anything in hardware is really difficult.
For sure.
It's really expensive. It hadn't been in the US, so I couldn't use an existing product. You have to have partnerships with like a Verizon or a T-Mobile. So I was like, none of these guys are going to answer my calls.
Big names, dude.
Yeah. And then I ran the numbers and I was like, the numbers don't make sense. So I did like 2 days of research though, validated it. I put together like 10 pages. A week later, I saw an Indiegogo campaign for Gabb. And Gabb, the idea of Gabb was just a phone for teenagers. And it was, a piece of hardware that looked like a smartphone, but operated like a flip phone. So I reached out to the founder, Steven, and I said, hey, I'm not going to do this, but I did all of this research on like this watch phone for kids. And I was like, I'm not going to go with it, but like, here's all this research. It may be a great second product for it. He ended up responding, wanted to know more about it, my experience. So we went to lunch. And 2 or 3 hours later, he was just like, there's only a couple of us. We haven't even launched yet. I want you to come and join the team, and then eventually like lead our watch division. So I was like, let's do it.
Cool. Cool.
I was 21 and
perfect timing.
Yeah. I had started to see like the negative effects of a smartphone for teenagers at that time, 2019.
Yeah.
And no one was talking about it. Like nobody. And so I was like, this may be like a really well-timed product in a well-timed company. And if we get funding, like this could go parabolic.
Beautiful, dude. And so that's transformed into, what is Gabb today?
Gabb today we've got about 350 employees, got offices in multiple states. We have, as I said, a watch that we launched in 2021, and that's just crushed it. And then an awesome phone for kids kind of 12 to 18-ish before they get that smartphone. But then we've got other great software products. Like we have our own music platform.
Super cool.
We partner with the labels directly, and instead of like bleeping out a word, we have it go through our filtration system, and then it gives it like a score, based on like if it's safe or not. And the cool thing is it can find things like innuendo and things that like other people wouldn't be able to catch.
Interesting.
So, a lot of songs would pass as like clean, but the stuff that they're talking about in content is actually not clean.
I want that for my phone, bro, for real, dude.
So we can catch that and then take that song out, which is cool.
Wow. Amazing, dude.
Yeah, we've got multiple hundreds of thousands of customers across the United States. And
any international yet?
Not yet. I think in the next couple of years we may expand.
Cool.
But what's crazy is hundreds of thousands of customers is still less than 1% of the market. So until we kind of have dominant market share, it makes a lot more sense to stay in the U.S.
Incredible. So from a business standpoint, I'm always intrigued at the idea of like, dude, from the birth of, hey, we have zero revenue.
Yeah.
We've sold zero products to we have hundreds of thousands of people that pay us every month to 9-figure company. What did you learn about scaling from birth to where you're at today? Give us some inside view on that.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I've learned is product market fit is like the most important thing. And there's so many things that kind of boil into product market fit. Timing is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think if Gabb would have launched 4 years earlier, it would have failed.
Sure.
The market wasn't ready for it yet.
Sure.
There hadn't been enough smartphone data out. And, at that time, I also feel like social media wasn't as harmful as it is now.
It's true.
So it's like, timing is so important. If we would have came out 2 years later, someone else would have invented it as well. So like right off from the get-go, we launched the product and we got to like $1 million in sales in like a couple months.
Wow.
So like that just proved there was a big market.
Was that through ads, word of mouth? What were you doing?
Influencers is kind of how we started off first. And there were tons of influencers who talk about this stuff, but they didn't have a product to push. So like once we were able to talk to them and say, we've actually got a solution, instead of just educating, you can point all of your targeted direct or followers to the solution. They just didn't have anything before that.
So cool.
So yeah, that was awesome. You learn and make so many mistakes.
Sure.
I think the other big thing that I've learned is the people at Gabb are really special. So they've had tons of success elsewhere, And a lot of things that we hear is, I climbed the corporate ladder. I finally made it to here. I then realized it wasn't as great as I thought it would be. The money, the title, everything like that. I thought I'd made it. And it's like, but really what I was searching for was like contribution and the ability to like have a product or a company that really had a mission. And so they are really attracted to Gabb, and the people really, really care about the mission. And I'm sure you'll hear that all the time and everything. But honestly, like if Apple or one of the big companies ended up changing the way that they did things because of Gabb's influence, and we went to zero, that's a win for us. Like this is such a huge pandemic, these kids with these cell phones. We just want, like, all of our executives, we just want to make the world better for kids.
Yeah.
It is fun, like, it's fun in the same vein to have a company that has such a mission and have like the financial impact and it's making people wealthy, and like that's super fun to have both, but it really is mission first.
So rare.
Yeah.
So rare. Because usually once the money starts coming in, mission doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
That goes out the window.
Yeah.
It's cool, dude.
Yeah.
It's cool they could say discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for sharing that. In past conversations, you told me how recently you've gone on a sabbatical of some sort, and you've taken some time off, and you being Mr. Entrepreneur for the last 7 years, and then 2 years of mission before that's probably been 9 years since you've slowed down. I know you, and you go 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You're always doing multiple things. You're always like waking up at 5. Like, you're just a grinder.
Yeah.
Walk us through what led to you saying, okay, it's time I take some time to myself, and I go from 100 down to 10 or 15, and I lay low for a little bit.
Yeah. It was difficult.
I can't imagine.
I've had some time to think about this. Like you said, I've been off the last 3 weeks or so. I feel like a lot of successful people, they over-index in maybe one or two important areas, and a lot of times that's what leads them to success. But sometimes it's like what builds the empire can also destroy it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear like if you've thought of that and what you feel like yours is. But for me, I'm overly obsessive. So I spend every second thinking about Gabb stuff, and as the leader of, the product team and everything, I'm always thinking about solutions. So that allows me, if I'm thinking about something 20 hours a day, eventually I'm going to come up with something that hopefully nobody else has thought of. When we launched our watch, I felt like we needed something to make it super different than other watches in the marketplace. I spent every waking hour trying to differentiate it. Ended up coming up with this like dumb game where kids could like take care of a virtual pet, and like it went gangbusters.
I remember you told me this
just
at the gym.
crazy. But I feel like I never would have thought of that if I wasn't crazy obsessive. But it's led to pretty extreme burnout. So I've gone super hard for the last 4 or 5 years, 70, 80 hour weeks, multiple roles, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. There's already a lot of that when it comes to startups.
Yeah.
But for me to never be able to turn my brain off, when I go home, I'm not really that present.
For sure.
It's like I can't just leave Gabb at the door and just go enjoy time with my wife or friends or whatever. I'm just always thinking, and sometimes like always worried, and nervous for some reason.
Yeah, dude.
So this year was a lot. We had some pretty key initiatives that we had to get out. So I didn't take a day off for 9 months, which is just super unhealthy.
Yeah.
But I just, for some reason, felt like I couldn't, and that the team needed me, and I don't know, just kind of telling myself some lies. Eventually I started just getting like some stomach pain and everything. And one night was so bad, I thought I had an appendicitis. Turns out I had stomach ulcers. So I think that was God's way of like
Dude.
telling me that I needed to slow down a little bit, because I wouldn't have slowed down unless it was something health related. So eventually talking with my wife and like I said, finding out we were pregnant kind of also like made my mind start changing a little bit. I realized that it wasn't healthy and that I needed to change. And so I was like, I need to do a reset and take a couple months off. And people at Gabb have been super accommodating and understanding, just because they know me, and so I don't know. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah, of course.
Let me ask you that though. What do you feel like you over-indexed a little bit, and how have you been self-aware with that?
So similar to you, for 4 years, I actually prided myself on being that guy. Yeah. Like, it was my identity. It was like, I liked the fact that I worked 80, 90-hour weeks. I liked the fact that you could call me at midnight and I'd be like still going, I love that. Like, I thought that was cool. And I get married, still doing it. And until the day, dude, where my wife brought home the baby, it was like, dude, I actually don't want that. Like, I would way rather hang out with my son's covey. Yeah. I'd way rather hang out with him. I'd way rather hang out with my wife. Like, and then also, bro, this resonates so much, what you're saying. I haven't been present in 5 years, bro. Like, we can talk, but behind my eyeballs, I got 3 things I'm thinking about, Yeah, totally. I sit in church, go to the temple, I having conversations, lunches. It's like, dude, my phone's blown up. Yeah. I know I'm thinking about who's texting me and who I got to call back. So 100%. That resonates a ton. And I'm grateful that we had a kid, because for the first time, like, ever since then, I've been so adamant about creating boundaries. Like, on Fridays, I try not to work. I say try because I end up doing it, but, and so just taking more time for myself, for my family, and they deserve that. And getting away from this identity of I have to work 80 hours a week has been beautiful, dude. And I just resonate a ton with that. Was
it tough for you?
For sure.
Yeah.
I still feel guilt.
Yeah.
Like, like, even me saying I take Fridays off, I'm nervous, dude. I'm nervous that like people might judge me for that, because it's just not my identity.
Right.
But I've also learned, dude, that the greatest flex is freedom. And it's like, I want to be the guy that can dominate at a high level while working minimal hours. Yeah, and sure. I think that's the coolest thing in business, when someone can work 3-4 hours a day, make a ton of money, and live their dream lifestyle and not have to kill themselves to do it.
100%. I feel like one thing that, and this is, I feel like we're kind of saying the same thing with timing, but for me at least, when I was in the accounting program at BYU, I realized I could give 8 hours a day to something and guarantee I get an A in the class, or I could do like 3 hours and get an A-. So for me, that delta of time like didn't make sense to me, because I was running my other business.
Sure.
So I had to be super efficient, but like, I would rather have somebody on my team that just cranks and can get through stuff a lot better and deliver like A- work, B+ work, than somebody who's way over meticulous on a PowerPoint, for 6 hours that could have taken them 30 minutes. So
it's a paradigm shift,
agree.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably an industry and cultural paradigm shift that probably needs to happen as well, where it's like, there's companies out there, it's like, yeah, it's sick. Like, we don't let our people work after 5. Like, we don't want them to. We want them to have an outside life. So
yeah,
that's cool. Any other learnings from your sabbatical? Any other, like, dude, I've taken 3 weeks off. I'm probably itching, to be doing other things. Any learnings in, like, convincing yourself to relax and lay low?
Yeah, quite a few. It took me maybe 2 weeks to like get out of my stress ball. Like I'm just constantly anxious about everything. So it was,
which you're probably numb to, because
yeah,
it's the entrepreneur's dilemma, bro.
totally.
Just permanently stressed, permanently anxious,
Yeah.
and you just deal with it.
Yeah. So I had to, for the first time, I felt like at Gabb, be like, okay, I'm feeling this way, and instead I can't act on it. So like I'm deleting my Slack, I'm deleting my LinkedIn, I'm deleting my Gmail, and I just had to be able to train my mind to go somewhere else. That was really hard, but it's been very healthy, and I feel like I've had way better conversations with my wife. I'm actually listening to her.
Yeah.
You know, so that's been a huge paradigm shift for me.
That's beautiful, dude. You're inspiring to me, dude.
It's healthy.
Yeah.
I think everyone, after 4 or 5 years, taking a couple months off, it's really healthy.
Yeah. Cool. I appreciate that. We talked about my son. His name's Covey. And he is incredible, man, in every aspect. I'm so in love with him. His name's inspired by your grandfather, Stephen Covey, who, in my opinion, is the GOAT of self-development. And he was like one of the first people to be like, it's not all about the rah-rah hype. Like, let's go inside out and let's focus on your internal so it can affect your external.
Yeah.
Give us an insider view, you being able to rub shoulders with him frequently from a family level. Like, tell us the impact that he has had on your life and what it's like to be his grandson. I'm so curious.
I was 12 when he passed away. And I wish I could have been older, you know?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't ready to learn. So I remember one time, there was a couple, like all my cousins my age have a similar experience where like my teacher in class was telling a story, and she's like, this is from one of Stephen Covey's books. And the whole time I'm listening, I'm like, I think I know this story, and I'm pretty sure she's talking about my grandpa. And so like, I didn't realize like to what extent, how many people he's impacted. And so that was tough. But what was really cool was when I started that business in China, we were actually a licensee of the Franklin Covey material.
Cool.
And I felt like I really got to know my grandpa because that material was so foreign to people in China. It was like, my grandpa always said common sense isn't always common practice, because he'd go and share these timeless principles with people. And then people afterwards would be like, this is just common sense. Of course you should listen to people before you talk. Or of course you should take time to relax or put first things first, right? Like, they're timeless principles.
Right.
But what was crazy about sharing them in like Asia is they were completely foreign to people. And so like being able to really learn and get trained in the curriculum for like months and then go over there and share it with people who had never heard it before, I felt like I was so close to him, and I was like inside his mind and could see it. And then I saw the principles working on these people and their lives changing and their families changing. And those like 2 years of doing that business was the closest that I felt like I got to him, even though we were together all the time, before I was 12.
That's beautiful. What is a story that sticks out to you about him that's a good resemblance of the kind of man he was?
A lot of people don't know how funny he was. He was always playing jokes and just like didn't take anything serious.
That's fun.
So we'd be at dinner, and he had this like long extender fork thing, and he'd extend it and go like 3 or 4 feet. And he would just, at the person on the other table, all of a sudden this like fork would come out of nowhere and like get a piece of your chicken or whatever, and then like come back and he'd just eat it, like it was. So just, he was always playing jokes. My mom said, coolest thing about him was she never felt like he was gone. Like he was always there. And it's because when he was there, he was 100% present. Like he never took a call.
Wow.
He never responded to emails or anything like that. When he was on business, he was on business 100%. When he was with the family, he was with the family 100%. I feel like a lot of people and a lot of dads and probably me specifically, which I'm glad I'm kind of figuring this out now, is they're at the home, but they're not there, you know, and they're thinking of other stuff and they're not giving 100% undivided attention and all that kind of stuff. So my grandpa was traveling all the time, right? Speeches in different countries and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But my mom's like, all of us kids felt like he was there 100% of the time. Like he was never gone. And that's just because he gave 100% when he was at home.
That's inspiring. I'm grateful for examples and evidences like that. He's way busier than me. You know, he's doing way more than I'm doing, and I'm not present, and he is. It's like there's no excuse there.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that. So you're now in the spot where you've had all this great entrepreneur experience. You've seen companies scale, you've seen exits, you've been around great people, really well networked. What's the future hold for Colin Cole?
Hopefully lifelong learning and contribution. I've caught the contribution bug, I guess you could say, and hearing stories of what our products have done to kids and teens and families is really powerful. And I just don't feel like I could go anywhere else if it didn't have that same type of mission and impact. So I feel like I'm a little spoiled there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to be able to believe in people and trust in people. When I started my first company, I had a business partner, Michael Simpson, who'd been in the industry for like 25 years. And knew way more about everything than I did. And we were, 50-50 partners. And I just turned 20. Like he believed in me. He trusted me. He saw my potential. And then the same thing happened at Gabb when I was super young. Some people said, you're going to fail. You're young. You don't fully understand how everything works. But like, we believe in you. We completely trust you. And we're going to back you 100%. And that's super rare. They could have found somebody who had 20 years experience and said, this person's going to lead our product team and be the executive over all the products. But they said that I could do it and that they trusted and believed in me. And that made all the difference in my life. So I want to be that person for a lot more people, and especially young people who really want it, and will put in the effort and all that stuff.
It's beautiful, dude. Tony Robbins says, if you focus on service and giving value, the money will follow.
Yeah.
And I would say if you focus on contribution, the money will follow. I think oftentimes it's like, cool, I got to chase the buck, I got to chase the money, and then I can contribute. I think if people reverse the formula where it's like, let me chase contribution and service.
Yeah.
And if you can be incredible at that, money's coming.
100%. My grandpa's last book before he passed was called Primary Greatness, and it was that exact principle. Primary greatness is contribution, being kind to others, all of the different traits that you can be as a good leader. And then secondary greatness is fame, money, title, all that kind of stuff. And what he said is like the paradox is you aim for secondary greatness. A lot of times you won't get there. And if you do get there, it's by cheating, lying, not being with your family. Like it has all of these negative consequences. Yeah. If you focus on primary greatness and contributing and being nice and being a great leader, secondary greatness just naturally comes. Everybody wants to do business with those who listen and who are kind and who are good leaders and who want to make an impact. So I think that exactly what you just said.
Yeah, that hits it right on the head. Well, this podcast is called Modern Day Heroes, and it's for a reason, man, that I'm having you on, and I'm grateful for who you are and the life you're living and who you're being more than anything. What you've done is awesome, but who you're being and what you've shared with us today, I think people have been able to feel that, and I'm grateful for your time, and I'm grateful for your wisdom. You have any last thoughts before we close out?
No, I'm just grateful for you. Those days in the early gym, we're just talking about our dreams and goals and everything. And so to see what you've become and the awesome dad and husband and businessman that you are, I'm just super proud of you and super happy for your success. So thank you for being a good example to me.
Thank you, my friend. And thanks for coming on and carving time out.
Of course.
We'll see you guys next week. Appreciate it.